Hello weirdos, my name is EmmaAbe and this is the last video that I'm going to be filming in this location for a while because I'm moving to Boston literally not tomorrow but the next day after that as of the filming of this video. Makes me sad because I'm going to miss all of my nice bookshelves behind me. I can't obviously bring all of my books, but that's okay. And another thing that makes me sad is I'm going to miss this girl. Yeah, I'm gonna miss the baby. She doesn't get to come with me. I'm moving to Boston. No, you don't. Unfortunately, no. I wish I could kidnap her. Because I would kidnap her. Is that right? I will kidnap you. Yes, I would. Because I love you. She's the best cuddle bug. I don't know how I'm gonna sleep without her cuddling me. Or me cuddling her. It's gonna be sad. Well, anyway, what do we have today? We have a video where I go through a bunch of books that I got recently. And this one is themed, unlike some of my other ones that I've been doing. And basically, I got a lot of these books at a garage sale or a library book sale. I thought about splitting it into two videos, but honestly, I'm tired and I just want to do it all in one go. I don't know how many books I have to show you, but I think I spent maybe $15 on all the books that I'm going to show you first. And some of them were just books that my friends gave me. You want to go down? What do you want to do? No? You want to shove your foot right down my cleavage? That is also a solution. You're just gonna... How? Like, what are you doing? Like, look at this. She's fully... Okay. So yeah, let's just get started. Even though she's like this, she's probably gonna move or I'm gonna get tired. So the first book, we have The Day Lincoln Was Murdered. This is by Jim Bishop, and this is all about that specific day in history that Abraham Lincoln was shot. It was a very eventful day. Hopefully if this goes into more of the conspiracy, it doesn't just talk about Lincoln, but also talks about what happened to Seward as well. So I think this will be super interesting. The next book that I got is Phantom of the Opera. This is by Gaston Leroux, and this follows somewhat the same plot as a musical, but I picked this up because of the musical. And basically there is this mysterious figure at the opera house that is tormenting the players of the opera house and also the owners of the opera house and demanding like money and stuff. And he gets obsessed with this ingenue called Miss Daae, and shit is wild. I really like the musical, so that's why I picked up this book. The next book is The Man Who Loved China, the fantastic story of the eccentric scientist who unlocked the mysteries of the Middle Kingdom. This is by Simon Winchester, and I don't know much about this, but that sounded interesting to me. What do you want to do? I'm just getting a little bit tired. He doesn't stay there. This next book doesn't have a book sleeve, but this is about El Greco. This is by Antonio Valentin. But I really like El Greco. El Greco is one of my favorite Spanish Renaissance painting. There are a few that the Art Institute in Chicago has of his work, which is really cool because I got to see some of that. And I don't know, we studied him in my Spanish literature class, and yeah, I just have an affinity for El Greco. He's a Greek person. It's literally what El Greco translates to from Spanish, is the Greek. You want to come down? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Make up your mind. There you go. Yeah, she went down. Ugh. That was cool though. She was up there. Just like literally on my arm. So the next book that I got is And the Mountains Echoed. This is by Khalid Hosseini, and I got this specifically because I enjoyed The Kite Runner and I enjoyed 1,000 Splendid Suns. This is another one of his works. I know nothing about what happens in this book. The next book that I got is Tchaikovsky. I cannot pronounce his name. Russian names suck because I cannot pronounce them. In America, the composer's visit to celebrate the opening of Carnegie Hall in New York City in 1891. This is by Elkonon Jaffe. It's right what it says on the tin. I really like Tchaikovsky's music. I really like his Rite of Spring. It's my favorite ballet. I think Carnegie Hall is super cool. I've had the opportunity to perform there, which is really, really cool. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful place to perform. And so I saw this and I thought this would be a cool thing to just read. Another book that I got is Black Earth, The Holocaust as a Story and a Warning. This is by Timothy Schneider. So I think this will be interesting. It's not something that I'm going to read anytime soon because I don't think I could handle Holocaust books right now. But it does seem really, really interesting. So that's why I picked this up. The next book I got is The Flu, The Story of the Great Influenza Pandemic of 1819 and the Search for the Virus That Called It. This is by Gina Kolata, and this just seems like an interesting book to me about the flu. I've been really interested in a lot of pandemic research literature recently for obvious reasons, and I think there's just enough distance between the current pandemic that we're all semi-in that I can handle reading a lot more stuff about it. Look at her, she's just like, she's down here like, I just want pets. That is all you want is pets. She's so funny. Look at her. She's so cute. I love her. I wish I could take her with me, but I can't. Sad face. So the next book that I got is another one that doesn't have a cover sleep thing. And that is Civil War and Reconstruction Era. This is 1861 to 1877, and this is part of the series called Black Communities and Urban Development in America from 1720 to 1990. Who is this by? This is edited by Kenneth L. Customer. Again, I am a sucker for Civil War history. I think it's really, really interesting, and oddly enough, I don't know that much about the Reconstruction era. Like, I think I know more than, like, the average person on the street, but it's still one area that I think I have a context knowledge gap in, that I would like to make better, if that makes any sense. So that's why I got this one, and this one does not have an audiobook. The next book that I got is Sex, Death, and Hierarchy in a Chinese City. This is an anthropological account by William R. Janowak, and I'm a sucker for anthropology books. This particular city that they're talking about is in the province of Inner Mongolia, which is right under Mongolia, so it's in the north of China. And yeah, this looks just really interesting. I am a sucker for histories like this, for anthropology accounts like this. The next book is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. This is by Erica L. Sanchez, and I don't really know what this is about, but this is essentially about a young girl, a girl who feels like she isn't living up to, like, the standards of her family, because it specifically says here, perfect Mexican daughters, oh my god, I cannot speak. Perfect Mexican daughters do not go away to college. They do not move out of their parents' house after high school. Perfect Mexican daughters never abandon their family. And that I thought was interesting, and this book I've seen pop up many different times on the internet and on or BookTube and stuff like that, so I was intrigued by it and saw it at a garage sale. I wanted $1 for it, and I was like, okay, sold. The next book is Half of a Yellow Sun. This is by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and I don't remember what it says on the back cover. Other than it takes place in Nigeria in the 1960s. But I picked this up largely because the author of this book also wrote We Should All Be Feminists. And I think that I haven't read that book yet. I pulled it off my shelves, but I have it packed away for my move to Boston. The garage sale that I got this from had like an absurd amount of sports books. Like, I've never seen so many sports books. And when I saw this in midst of all of these sports books, I was like, okay, well, I have to get this, because it's something other than freaking sports books. Like, oh my god, so many. The next book that I got is Motorcycle Diaries. This is by Che Guevara. This is essentially about like, I think it's like a memoir, a recounting of his time when he took a motorcycle ride all around South America, and that motorcycle ride was actually very important and for him turning to communism because he thought that the way that South America wasn't cutting it for the average person. I had to watch basically this movie in high school in Spanish class. Really changed my perspective on a lot of things. When I saw the book, I was like, well, I have to get this because it's just such a very nostalgic thing, I guess, for me. The next book is Geronimo, His Own Story, the autobiography of a great patriot warrior, which is also by, it says, as told to S.M. Barrett. This is an autobiography of a Native American warrior, and that is really all I know about this. So the next book I picked up is The Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mom. This is by Amy Chua, and it says here in the front, which I thought was really interesting, this is a story about a mother, 2 daughters, and 2 dogs. It was supposed to be a story about how Chinese parents are better at raising kids than Western ones, but instead it's about a bitter clash of cultures, a fleeting taste of glory, and how I was humbled by a 13-year-old. So I thought that that was really interesting premise to be on the front. I've seen this book pop up a few other times, like while my time like searching for books on the internet. So I saw this at the garage sale and I was like, well, I'm just going to snatch this up because I find this to be an interesting subject matter. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about, I didn't like actually purchase, but they were gifted to me by my friend that I was doing all this book shopping with. So the first one is Cress. This is the 3rd book in the Lunar Chronicles. This is by Marissa Meyer. My friend was over, saw my bookshelves, saw that I was missing some of the Lunar Chronicles, and offered to give me her copy of Cress, which I was really grateful for because I'm like searching to like fit the series in this specific editions because I don't like the new editions. I like these. So now the only ones that I'm really missing is the first one, which is Cinder. But essentially this is like sci-fi, like futuristic retellings of fairy tales, and Cress specifically follows this young girl who is stranded on like a spaceship, and she is supposed to be the Rapunzel stand-in. And her name is Cress. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm gonna have to do a reread of these at one point because I just enjoyed this series so much. The next book that my friend gave me, and the last book that my friend gave me, is Crank. This is by Ellen Hopkins, and this is a story about a woman dealing with addiction, a young woman dealing with addiction, and you get the perspectives from her parents, her mother especially, and it's all told in like poetry form. So this is like the kind of poetry that like I enjoy, poetry that tells a story. So it reads really quickly. And I heard that it's really sad. That's what my friend said. I don't know what I'm going to read this, but it seems like it's going to be depressing, but that's okay. Those are all the books that I got like on one day when we were going like garage sale shopping. The next batch of books that I'm going to show you is all books that I got from a library book sale. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the library, but it was somewhere in Chicagoland. Let's just get started on the books. So the first book I got is The Valley of Amazement. This is by Amy Tan. I don't know anything about this other than Amy Tan wrote it, and I like Amy Tan's work, so I just kind of want to build up more of my collection of her work. I think that she has a large collection, which is like great for like reading new things. So that's this one. Spoilers, it's not going to be the only Amy Tan book, because Amy Tan's also really great because usually you can find her work in like bookstores because they're old enough to where they usually wind up in used bookstores, or library helps, which is great for me, which you can't always find with some newer works and newer authors who are publishing things more recently. The next book is a chonky boy, and that is These Truths. This is by Jill Lepore, but it's basically a history of the United States. I think it takes a little bit more honest view of American history, but I'm not entirely sure. But I've seen this floating around like the history bookshelves, and I thought that I would get it because I only had to pay like $1 for this, whereas originally it cost like $40. So there you go. The next book is Fidel Castro. This is by Robert E. Quirk, and it is a biography of Fidel Castro. Need you know more? Yeah, but if you don't know, Fidel Castro was basically the leader of Cuba when it was communist. South American history is another piece of history that I want to like become better in, become more knowledgeable of. So there you go. There's that one. The next biography that I got, because I got another one, is Bloody Mary. This is by Carly Erickson. And Bloody Mary, it's about Mary Tudor, who was the Queen of England in the 1500s. And she is known as being very, very bloody because she murdered a bunch of Protestants. And she is the oldest daughter of Henry VIII. Yeah, Henry VIII, the one who had all the wives. The one who was married to the wives in Six, the musical. So this is Mary. And yeah, I just think that it'll be interesting. I do find Tudor history very, very interesting. And I have read and studied a fair bit about it. The next book is another Amy Tan book. And this one is The 100 Secret Senses. And again, I don't know anything about this book other than Amy Tan wrote it. Is that a bad reason to buy a book? I don't really think so. Or at least there are definitely worse reasons. Next book is Miss Lincoln and Miss Keckley. This is the remarkable story of the friendship between the First Lady and a former slave. This is by Jennifer Fielenschner. My best guess. And this is really about the relationship about Mary Lincoln and her dressmaker when she was in the White House, who was a former slave, and she just made these beautiful, beautiful, iconic dresses. I don't really know too much about their relationship, despite all my knowledge about Civil War history. Still, there are things for me to discover, so that's why I picked up this one. The next book is Emperor of China. I don't know which. Oh, Self-Portrait of Kangxi. This is by Jonathan D. Spence. Jonathan D. Spence is just out here writing a ton of history books about China, which is wild to me. And I own more than one of his, which is like interesting and remarkable to me that there's just so many books that this person has written. So that's this one. The next book, The Secret Life of Bees. I don't really know what this one is about, but it is by Sumunk Kid. I haven't read anything by Sumunk Kid, but her writing is like historical fiction that I want to try, and I do own some of her stuff because she wrote the Book of Longings, which I still haven't read. It's on my list, but I haven't read it yet. The next one is 3 Cups of Tea. This is by Greg Mortensen and David Oliver Rellin. But this is one man mission to promote peace one school at a time. And this is about this one man's work about education in Pakistan. And it gives me Little Princess vibes, which is a book about another person coming in to try and reunite orphaned children with their families, which I really enjoyed that book. So hopefully I will enjoy this. And the one who was reunited orphaned children was reuniting families in Nepal. So that's this one. The next one is we have 1,000 White Women, the Journals of Mary Dodd. This is a novel by Jim Fergus. I don't know much about this other than it's a Western, and there were 2 copies, so my mom was like, let's read this. The next book that I got is Empress. This is by Shan Sa, and this is a novelization of the life of Wu Zetian, who is like the only like female emperor of China, who has just a really, really crazy life. So I thought that this would be an interesting book to pick up, and it's really good condition, seeing that it was only worth 25 cents according to the library. So let's keep going. The next book is The Feather Thief, Beauty, Obsession, and the Natural History Heist of the Century. This is by Kirk Wallace Johnson, and this is all about the heist where this young man broke into a museum and stole hundreds of feathers, like thousands of feathers, and hundreds, like tens of birds. I don't remember exactly how many birds, but I read this last year and I found that it was really interesting. So I wanted to pick up a copy because it was a relatively cheap and inexpensive copy, and I really enjoyed the books and thought it would be a nice addition to my collection. Plus, isn't the cover just really beautiful? I think it is. I'm trying to go through this because she's being antsy and I'm getting tired and I have to wake up at 8 a.m. to play D&D tomorrow. Oh, woe is me. The next book that I got is Once There Were Wolves. This is by Charlotte McConaughey, and I think this is a mystery of some kind. Pick this up because I do have to read this for the Goodreads Choice Awards, I think in like the mystery section. But other than that, I don't know anything about this. The next book that I got is Pearl of China. This is by An Chi Min. This is about the relationship between Pearl S. Puck and a Chinese woman, and it's all about their relationship that they build while Pearl S. Puck was growing up in China with her missionary parents, which is always like, ooh, missionaries always give me the feeling. That sounded like a really interesting story. It is a novelization of their relationship, but I just thought that it'd be an interesting relationship to read about. And I feel like before I can read this, I have to read like The Good Earth and like stuff that Pearl S. Puck has actually written before I can read this. But that's this one. The next book is The Invention of Wings, also by Sumunk Kid. This is a novel, and I don't really know much about this. I know it is about an enslaved person, and that is about it. But again, I'm wanting to try some of Sumunk Kid's stuff, so this is what I'm doing. The next book that I got is Teacher Man by Frigg McCourt, and my mom really pushed me to get this because it is a memoir of a teacher, and she knows I'm going to be a teacher, so like he thought it'd be meaningful to me, and it specifically it markets itself as like a love letter to like teachers everywhere. That's what I'm gonna be in like I think like 10 days, which is wild. I'm very, very excited because teaching is what I've been wanting to do for a very long time, so it's wild that I even get to do it. Next is a bunch of books that I'm going to kind of talk about together because they have similar authors and you probably know a little bit about it, but that is Hamlet by William Shakespeare, The Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare, Othello by William Shakespeare, the Scottish Play by William Shakespeare, and King Lear by William Shakespeare. So, a quick summary. King Lear is about, like, I haven't read this one. The rest of them I have read. But basically, it's about a daughter's love for her father, her father is King Lear, who through various circumstances, like, winds up testing all of his daughters to, like, prove their love, and she's the only one who, like, loves him when he becomes, like, poor, and it's a complicated thing. Scottish Play is about man's ambitions to rise to power, and he winds up murdering a bunch of people to do it. And the lady is super awesome and screams out damn spot a ton of times. Othello is a tragedy about a man who, a man from Africa, a Moorish man, who falls in love with this woman. They get married and is tragically betrayed and winds up killing his wife through tragic circumstances. Twelfth Night is comedy with a bunch of misunderstandings. There's lots of subplots happening. There's this like actual love triangle where this one man is in love with this woman who is dressed up as a man, who's trying to get this other woman, and then the other woman winds up falling in love with the woman that's dressed up as a man, who has a twin brother. It's really complicated, but really funny. I like it a lot. Yeah. Next one, Hamlet, arguably one of Shakespeare's most famous plays, but basically it is about a young prince of Denmark whose father is tragically murdered, and his quest to get revenge for his father who was murdered by his uncle, who went to marry his mom. And there's a play. These are bad summaries. There you go. They're the Shakespeare books that I got. I actually don't own a lot of Shakespeare plays. I mean, my family has some, but I definitely want to get more. Like, my favorite play is actually Midsummer Night's Dream. And I don't actually have a copy of that. And I don't have a copy of, you know, some of the other classics like and Juliet. Oh, hello. Oh, look at you popping up here to sit on my shoulder. You are on my ear. I cannot hear out of that ear. That's okay. We're going to let her go because we're almost done. I think we have 3 more books. So, oh God. Books going to fall into here. The next book I got is T.S. Eliot's Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. And this is the poetry book that Andrew Lloyd Webber used to make the musical Cats. I did not love the musical Cats, but I was in it twice. Oh, you come down? Coming down? Make a brief reappearance. So you want to go down? I find these poems to be amusing. You know, you've got the Old Deuteronomy poem, and it's there verbatim. I'm going to be singing Cats in my head for, like, the entirety of me reading this. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but there you go. Next book that I got is A Secret Affair. This is by Mary Blow. And I got this because, well, I love red and the cover's red, so I thought it was interesting. I don't really read a lot of these traditional, like, historical romances because I'm kind of a little bit over heterosexuality. But I figured, you know what? Let's try. I've tried in the past. This one looked like an interesting one to get with, but basically it's about a lady who's a duchess and her husband's dead, and now she's wanting to find a side piece, which I'm totally for her finding a lover. And so, yeah, that's this one. Oh, don't fall down. And the last book that I got is Tales from the Moss Eisley Cantina. This is edited by Kevin J. Anderson. And these are all tales set in the Moss Eisley Cantina. Moss Eisley Cantina, in the Cantina in Star Wars. So I don't know if we're going to see any of our beloved favorite characters. What do I even want to do? What do you want? But this just looked like a fun one. And again, it was 25 cents. So there you go. That's a haphazard rendition of all of the books that I got kind of recently at, like, reduced rates. And I'm tired. So maybe, like, put, like, a Z emoji in the description to let me know that you've seen this, but you don't really want to comment something. If you don't want to comment something, what is your favorite, like, library book sale place to go to? And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.